So it's been a minute since I've made a video, but hey, good things come to those who wait, apparently. So as you may or may not know, I've made a video previously about how to speed up your website by using a plugin called WP Rocket. Now, while the plugin has and still is a wonderful plugin to use, I believe that I found something that's slightly more special. But instead of me telling you about it, let me show you. Right, so what I've done here is set up a clean WordPress install. And further to that, I've installed a bunch of plugins like Elementor, Jet Elements, WordFence, WooCommerce, and so on. What I wanted to do is bloat the website up as much as possible so as to show you the power of this incredible service. Now, if you've been working with WordPress for a while now, you'll note that things like Elementor and WooCommerce isn't necessarily the fastest of plugins and are for the most part the culprits slowing down most WordPress websites. So with that out of the way, let me show you the current speed using Google's page speed tester. I'll also use web.dev to show you the Lighthouse report before, and then we'll have a look again afterwards. So there we have it. The current speed for mobile is 23 out of 100. And on the desktop 53. These are the average scores that I would say 90% of websites would normally have, but we're going to be fixing that. Using web.dev, we can have a look and see what the Lighthouse report says. And there we have it, score of 29, which is absolutely crap. So what I'm going to be showing you is absolutely going to blow your mind. The service I'm referring to is called NitroPack, and I'll put a link in the description below. Now, they have a speed tester on their website that also uses Google's page speed tool to show your current speeds, as well as what your site could be running at. Now, I'll be honest when I tell you that at first I thought this was absolute nonsense. I mean, how on earth can they take your site from, say, a 50 to 100 on Google's page speed when no other tool has been able to do that? So I signed up, tested, and have since been working closely with NitroPack and the team. And all I can say is that all in all, this is one amazing service, but I digress. Let's test our site on NitroPack quickly before we start making changes. Now, from experience, I can tell you that these scores are pretty damn accurate. So as I mentioned, setting up NitroPack is super easy. All you need to do is create an account. There's a free plan, but I'll go into that a little bit more detail towards the end, as there are a few things that you need to be made aware of. Now, after you've created your account, log in and then simply add your website. Give it a descriptive name and then click on proceed. Now, you need to download a little WordPress plugin to connect your site to NitroPack. You can find the little connector by browsing to downloads and simply upload that to your WordPress installation and install it. Now, after the plugin has been installed, all you need to do is add your site ID and site secret, hit save, and head on back to NitroPack. So click on settings and you can pretty much leave everything as is. You'll see that the configuration is on strong by default. And what I recommend you do is leave it there first. Under the integrations, you can link your Cloudflare account, enable Varnish or NGINX, and also set up Security if you need all of that. For our purposes, we don't need any of that right now. So click on Cache Warmup, click Enable, and add your URL, as well as the sitemap if you have one. Hit the Save button and let Nitro start doing its thing. Now, what you need to remember is to open up every page of your website on desktop as well as mobile. I mean, you don't have to, but it just speeds up the caching process. And that's pretty much that. We're done. Now, there are two more things that I personally like to set, but let's look at the scores first. The first run will always be slower. It's just because things are being cached. Don't freak out when this happens. Just give it a couple of minutes and try again. I mean, it's looking good. Mobile's already up to 75, desktop 99, and we haven't even gone to the most extreme settings. I mean, this is the power of this incredible service, but I believe we can do a little bit better. So let's head on back into the WordPress backend, go to settings and then NitroPack. Change the optimization mode to ludicrous and enable HTML compression if your hosting allows for that. purge your cache, and then we'll go through the same process of refreshing the website, opening it up on the mobile, clicking through on the website, scrolling up and down, just to kind of have Nitro do its thing. I mean, it's also important just to go through your website once you've enabled the ludicrous mode. It is their most aggressive settings, so in some cases there might be small little things that tend to break. If those do happen, treat them on a case-by-case basis. Just make sure that all of your functionality is still there and that everything still works on your website. And there we go. Mobile and 94, desktop 100 out of 100. You'd be hard pressed to find any service or plugin out there that can give you these kinds of results without it expecting you to be some genius developer. And while these tests are running, there's something that you need to remember, as I mentioned previously, that every site is different. There's different themes, there's different plugins, and so some settings might not work. Like I mentioned before, this is normal and the same for every other plugin out there. The good thing though is that the support from Nitro is great, and if you need any help with setting things up, they'll sort you out. Now lastly, let's talk about the free versus paid options. Now while this is cool and all, what's not so cool about the free option is the fact that you get a mandatory badge right at the bottom of your website. This links back to them, and trust me when I tell you, you cannot remove it. Not with CSS, nothing. These dudes are clever. Further to that, you only get 200 optimizations per month on the free plan. Now an optimization is pretty much any change that you make on your website. If you run an e-com site, this quickly adds up, and once you hit that limit, optimization stops, which is not ideal. The best option I feel is the light option, as you get up to 20,000 optimizations per month with priority support as well. Now there's one more thing that I need you to understand. While it's great buying a plugin like WP Rocket or something similar, the problem with these things are that if you start changing your website, if you redo your website, you kind of have to go through all of the settings again. You've got to make sure everything is working as it should. And the great thing about NitroPack is that once it's installed, it does everything for you. You can go and chop and change and add images and remove images and do whatever you want, and it'll take care of the performance of your website. So by paying the very small fee every single month, in my opinion, makes it completely worth it. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I'm all about honesty and transparency. And so I'm going to say this, that the free option is going to be worth it for most of you out there. And that's perfectly fine. If you're happy with a badge at the bottom of your site and with limited optimizations, go for it. Oh shit, and before I forget, the other great thing about this tool is the fact that you could have pretty much any hosting you want. You could have the best and the fastest hosting server, or you could have the cheapest $1 hosting that you can kind of think of. It'll do exactly the same thing. That's pretty damn cool if you ask me. So in other words, you don't have to go and spend an arm and a leg on expensive hosting. I'd rather use that towards a service like this, knowing that I'm going to get fantastic results. So pick a cheap and cheerful plan, hook it up to Nitro, and be happy. Now, if this helps but one person out there, that makes this completely worth it. Now, I want you guys to stay safe with all of the crazy going on in the world right now. And as always, subscribing helps me help you. And so help me help you. Stay awesome.